I've been doing so much traveling lately, and I'm back here at the Venetian in Las Vegas, right outside the poker room, ready to play a 100-100 game. Earlier today, I played some Club WPT Gold to warm up in with some smaller stakes. I got aces, I got paid. It's kind of unbelievable. It's my preferred place to play some online poker, especially from the US. Safe place to play, lots of stakes to play, and I've given away hundreds of thousands of dollars. So use my code Rampage if you want to hop in. Plenty of cash games, plenty of tournaments to hop into, and hopefully that this aces hand was a good omen for good things to come. We're playing 100-100. It's a big game today here in Vegas, and I've had a very lovely upswing over the past few weeks. So fingers crossed, let's keep this upswing going. On a pretty hot win streak, I started off with $50,000 to start off in this 100-100 game, and right off the bat, we get involved with 8-6 of hearts. I'm on the button, and JRB raises to 300. Gonna make the call here and see a flop, and so does the big blind, and we see a nice one in ace-9-9 2 hearts. With a flush draw and a dream, JRB fires out a continuation bet of 400. I make the call, and the big blind folds. Turn is a bink queen of hearts, hitting our flush immediately, and JRB bets once again for 800. Considering how deep we're playing, definitely want to get more money into the middle, so I put in a raise to 3,000. Gonna fast play this flush here, gonna need some protection, and could definitely get a lot of value, and my opponent makes the call. River comes a 6, so even a better card because I'm gonna block some full houses that he could have. So when my opponent checks it over to me here, I throw out $8,000 into the middle. Pretty large bet, and I'm trying to get paid with a flush, and JRB goes into the tank for a while. He exposes that he has a 9 for trips. Wow. Did not expect to be against such a strong hand like this, but does ultimately flick in a call and pay. Very, very nice start in this game to win a pot of this size. Getting paid on the river is always super nice, and gotta give a big thank you to JRB for sponsoring this video. He's one of the hosts of the game, so appreciate the invite and even more appreciative of the river call. Moving right along with ace queen of clubs, I'm in the hijack and raise to 300. Small blind now decides to 3-bet to 1,300, and not really sure how this small blind player is playing. Definitely have a very good hand to put in another raise, but decided to make the call and see a flop in position, which comes 7-5-4 2 clubs. So when my opponent checks it over to me here, I decided to throw out 1,300, about half pot size bet, sizing up here on a board that should favor me, and definitely a board I like seeing. Maybe you can hit another flush when my opponent makes the call. The turn is the jack of hearts. Once again, my opponent checks, and I am kind of torn between whether I want to put more money in the middle or not. Definitely could just bloat up the size of the pot just on the off chance I could hit top pair, or even a flush would be amazing. So I throw 3,000 into the middle, and my opponent calls yet again. The river this time is a 6, so I don't love this. And when my opponent checks yet again, I don't know if I really want to bluff off ace high. Maybe if I had a worse flush draw, I could potentially start to bluff, but I check this one back and kind of give up or get to showdown, and my opponent has king 5 of spades. Oh man, the pair of 5s is going to hold. I don't know how my opponent called with this hand, but gotta give credit to him. He's gonna win this pot as I lose a pretty big one. In the following hand, we pick up a premium, pocket kings under the gun, and with a premium, gonna put in a raise to 300. The button 3-bets me to 1,300, and I kind of slow played the ace queen, and that did not pay off. This time, I'm going to put in a 4-bet to $5,000, and hoping to build a really big pot pre-flop here. My opponent comes along for a call, and we've got $20,000 more to play behind. So off to a flop we go of 6-4-3 2 diamonds, and out of position here, kind of torn with a check or bet, but I think I just want to start pumping money into the middle. Maybe I can get it all in on a safe turn card. So I start off with a $5,000 bet, and my opponent quickly folds. So, not going to win a whole lot here, but I'll take the $5,000. And moving right along with a monster hand, JRB once again gets involved by raising to 400. I've got queen 8 of spades on the button and decided to 3-bet this one to 1,500. Definitely think it's okay to mix in some of these janky hands like this, but when the big blind calls, it kind of ruins the whole expectation of trying to play heads up and isolating the field, and JRB comes along for a call as well. So 3 ways with the pot building. It comes 8
8-5 2 hearts. That is trips with a very, very good kicker. The big blind checks, and then JRB leads out 3,000 here on this flop. Very suspicious of this lead, but obviously with trips, I'm in here. I'm going to make the call and kind of slow play for now, trying to see what's happening. I don't really think JRB could have too strong of a hand, and I don't really want to blow him off if he has some sort of pocket pair, and maybe we can get more value from that. So when I make the call, we're heads up to the turn, which comes to the king of diamonds. Now my opponent once again bets out 5,000, and against this smaller sized bet on the turn, considering he fired out pretty large for 3,000, now down betting almost to 5,000, I don't think my opponent has me beat here ever, and it's definitely time to pump some money into the middle, and I'm going to put in a raise to 17,000, trying to get more, and I'm trying to get all of the money in. At this point of the night, JRB covers me, and when I make the raise of 17,000, he quickly makes the call yet again. So we've got a pretty big pot ballooning up here, by far the biggest pot of the night. In the river comes the 3 of diamonds, a complete brick, and I'm sitting here with trips and pretty much the best kicker that is possible. I only lose to really, I don't know what I lose to at all. So when my opponent checks, I've got about $44,000 left behind, and I'm going to try to win all the money here, going to play potentially a $130,000 pot. I'm all in, and he snap calls. Oh no. Snap call cannot be good as my opponent shows the ace-8. No freaking way. I had no idea that my opponent could have such a strong hand like this. I genuinely thought I had the best kicker possible. I lied. Ace-8 beats Queen-8 in a massive cooler here in a $130,000 pot at a 100-100 game. This is not how you want this session to go. I've noticed about 60% of you guys watching this video aren't even subscribed. So if you want to make a deal, I promise I will not punt off my net worth in the next couple hands as long as you just tap that subscribe button. Thank you. After losing my initial $50,000 buy-in, I'm just going to reload for another $50,000, throw it onto the table, and we're going to have to make this one count because that's all the money I brought with me today. Trying to rebound here, we have an under the gun raise to 500. The button makes the call, and I've got 6-7 of diamonds in the small blind. I'm going to put in another raise, right? How else could I possibly crawl out of this hole without 3-betting to 2,500? But then next to act in the big blind wakes up and makes it 6,500. All right, when action folds back to me, I did not 3-bet this hand to fold to a 4-bet, so we have a pretty suspect hand, but definitely a good hand on some favorable flops to see. Let's hope we can see one of them. I make the call, and my opponent has about $20,000 left behind, so we're going to get involved with another big pot. And this time the flop comes 4-5-6. That's right. This is one of those flops I dreamed of seeing. So I check to my opponent, and he fires out a bet of $5,000. It's a pretty large bet here, and it's putting in a significant portion of his stack. Now, kind of torn on what I want to do. Obviously, there's a lot of merit to putting in some aggression here at this point. I can just get him to fold hands like ace-king that still have a lot of equity against my hand. But on the off chance my opponent can have some sort of overpair, I kind of want to play this weirdly. I check raise to a small size of 12,000, and this puts my opponent into a very, very long tank. And I'm expecting him to just have ace-king here a lot when he doesn't go all in, or at least when he has to think about it. It seems like he's not Hollywooding, and it seems like he has a real decision to make. And he ends up letting his cards go, and we talk about the hand after, and he's kind of confused at what I had. And he just tells me he had pocket jacks. Oh my goodness. Getting jacks to fold is insane. I guess my opponent put me on either like a set or just aces and kings, but this is a huge, huge win here with just a pair and straight draw. Getting the better hand to fold is always a win in a pot like this. Action is clearly ramping up, and I've got ace-king of spades, raise it up to 400, and I get the button to 3-bet me to 1,500. This seems like another great spot to put in a 4-bet, so we're ramping in, pushing more money in the middle, and I make it $5,500 to go. And my opponent, not deterred, going to come along for a call. And we're off to a flop, playing another big pot of Queen 9-7 rainbow. Just completely whiffed, but maybe maybe my opponent has a hand like ace jack, which seems ambitious. I start off with a small bet of 3,000, hoping to just get fold immediately, but she comes along for a call. The turn comes a 4, it's a complete brick, and with ace king kind of sitting with not really a clue of what I want to do at this point of this hand, I decided to check, thinking that bluffing or betting here would seem a little too ambitious. And when my opponent fires out another small bet of 4,000, I feel like I'm kind of getting milked in here, to be honest with you, but what can I do? Ace king has some outs. Maybe ace king can still be good sometimes against 10-9 or jack 10. I make the call. Well, the river comes a jack, so all around just the worst card I ever wanted to see. And action's gonna quickly go check, check. My ace high is no good against a hand that's gonna check back this river. She shows pocket tens, and I give back all of my winnings from the previous hands and then some in this pretty big pot. We are simply losing too many hands, and we've got to get back on the comeback trail. This time, the low jack raises to 600, and I've got queen jack offsuit in the cutoff. Gonna make the call here and going heads up to a flop of queen 8-7. My opponent starts with a check, and I think here I can check sometimes with some good hands like queen jack, so I check back top pair, and the turn comes a 10. My opponent checks yet again, another pretty good card for my hand, as I do have a straight draw now. I decide to bet out $800 into the field, and my opponent comes along for a call. So overall, pretty tame hand. The river comes a brick deuce, and when he checks one more time, I think I can get another street of value considering I checked on the flop. So I bet $2,000 out there. And then he just announces all in. Oh my goodness, guys. He covers me, and I'm down to my last $24,000. Fellas, there's $3,000 in the middle, and now this could potentially just be a $55,000 pot if I call. I don't know what's happening. What just happened in this hand? I go into the tank for a while, and it seems like my opponent is just repping a straight. I don't even know if my opponent's going to be doing this with a slow played set. So are we going to muster the courage and stick in a call? Because this pot is going to be insane. This was a very tame, chill, nothing burger of a pot, but now suddenly ballooned into something that could be very, very special or very, very disastrous. Look, if I'm wrong, I'm going to lose all my money and get stacked again today. But if my opponent's repping a straight, so be it, because I've got a jack in my hand and I'm not going to be folding. I stick my chips in the middle and he says, a good call. And there we go. Breathe a sigh of relief as I win a monster pot. Oh my goodness, what an insane turn of events on this river here. I'm very glad that this all worked out. And in the next spot, picking up queen jack offsuit again. And we're playing the stand-up game here where the loser is going to owe everyone about $500. And we're down to the last few players. So there's an early position player raising to 400 who's standing. Hijack makes the call, and I'm going to raise up my hand to 2,000 considering how well queen jack worked out for me last time. Both opponents, though, are not going anywhere. The stand-up game generates a lot of action, and they're both going to come along for a call. And the flop comes 5-5-3, 2 diamonds. Action checks it over to me here and definitely could fire out a bet, but I don't want to go too crazy considering I think I'm going to get action because everyone's going to be calling a little bit looser here given the stand-up game. I check back. The turn 5 now looks pretty good for my specific holding as everyone checks to me and I'm going to start blasting off. I can be the only person that could slow play some aces and kings this way, so I'm going to put 2,000 in the middle to start and I get one opponent to call. So how much do I have to barrel to get him off this hand? The river comes a 9, and when he checks once again, I am not going to give up. We are throwing the gas in the middle here, and I fire out $15,000. Gonna need him to fold here, and he does, luckily. And I'm going to take this pot down, win this one, and I also, of course, have to show the bluff in his face to get to sit back down and win this Nick game. And we get some insane action with the hijack raising the 400, the cutoff 3-betting the 1,500, and I've got 10s in the small blinds. I'm going to make it $6,000, and both of my opponents come along for a call. So just like that, we got a very casual $18,000 pot brewing, and the flop comes ace 6 3 2 spades. Very, very annoying to see the ace on the flop, and when I check to my opponent, he fires out 6,000. The cutoff then makes the call for 6,000, and I guess I'm just gonna fold and give this one away. I'm not really sure. Just giving away $6,000 away like candy. What is even more frustrating is that the pot goes to showdown, and on the river, 8-7 is up against 8-6. So this is really frustrating as 8-6 is going to win, and I easily could have won this one, but we've got some redemption. Pocket aces in the big blind. We're playing four-handed as the night is winding down now. Cutoff makes it 300, and I 3-bet my hand to 2,000, trying to build a pot with a very, very good premium. My opponent comes along for a call. The flop comes king 9 6 2 spades, and I check to my opponent, and he fires out $1,200. Given the small bets, I think my hand could definitely go for some value, and I'm going to check raise to a little bit larger size to 6,000. Trying to build the pot, hoping to not see any spades, and my opponent does make the call, so step one complete. Number two, let's fade a spade, turn deuce of spades. Okay, I guess the dealer's not really going to work with me here. I'm definitely torn with what I want to do. I don't have the ace of spades in my hand, which is annoying, but I fire out 5,500, a little bit smaller of a bet here, and trying to just get value from like a king or one spade holdings, and he is going to make the call for 5,500. So now with about $27,000 left, we've got a big pot brewing, and the river comes a 5. So overall, shouldn't change a whole lot, and definitely not feeling amazing about my overpair, you know, considering it's just one pair anyways, and it's a board that can contain a lot of two pairs, sets, or flushes, of course, that all beat me. So I decided to take the cautious route and check to my opponent, but then he doesn't put me all in, which makes me feel pretty good. He does bet out 12,000 though, which is followed by a pretty quick call by myself, and this 12,000 is going to work out as he makes all the money here with king 9. He flops 2 pair, gets a little fish like me to check raise, and he's just gonna win all the money. Now my stack is crippled down to like 14,000 in front, and we've got ace 3 of hearts in the big blind. Small blind limps in. I raise to 500. He decides to limp 3-bet to 2,500. Suited ace, never gonna fold here, and we're gonna see a flop, which comes ace 5. Here we go with trips. Could the comeback be on? I'm really gonna need a miracle here to get out of the hole now. But my opponent fires out 1,000. I say thank you and collect my chips on a call. The turn even better is another 5, so now I don't even lose to a better ace. Now it's just a full house and probably going to chop if he has an ace, but action's going to go check, check here, and the river comes a deuce, a complete brick, and when my opponent checks once again to me, I think at this point, I've got to go for all of it, so I've got about $11,600 left in my stack, and I just rip it all in there. My opponent is annoyed, which makes me very pleased about this, as we won't be chopping, I won't be losing, and maybe I could just win some money. And he does make the call, and I beat pocket kings. So my crumbs now has turned into a double up and a little bit of life, and no better time to pick up kings. Four-handed. On the big blind, the cutoff raises to 300, the button 3-bets to 1,000, and oh my goodness, yes! This is my chance to win some back. It's been hours and hours and hours of grinding out my short stack, and I make it $4,000 to go. Next to act in the cutoff, who originally raised, decides to click it on me and make it 9,000? Action folds to me. I've got about $36,000 in my stack. Can we play for all the chips? I'm all in, and he makes the call pretty quickly. So we've got a $73,000 pot brewing, and we're gonna run it twice. The cards aren't up yet, but I can only imagine kings has to hold. It is the best hand, and let's run it.
I have aces.
Are you serious?
Okay. Really? Twice? You want to go twice with aces?
I always go twice. That's my rule. No matter what, I have aces.
He ends up showing me pocket aces. Oh my goodness. And there it goes. Minus $100,000 on the day, getting stacked twice, and this time in some brutal fashion, running kings into aces. Nothing like following up your biggest win of the entire year with, I can't even say it's my biggest loss of the year, but just getting completely death ran today. In for 100, played for about 7.5 hours, out for 0. I wish I never showed up today, I guess. I wish I never showed up today. Goodbye.